In a bid to foster deep tech startups, the DPIIT Secretary R.K. Singh announced the government is in the final stages of developing a deep tech startup policy. My colleague Akhil Vishnath caught up with Sateesh Andra of VC firm Endiya Partners to discuss the key role that the policy will play in the deep tech startup ecosystem. Take a look.
The first question I have is, earlier today we had the DPIIT Secretary tell us that the deep tech startup policy is in the final interministerial stages of consultations. How important will this policy be, and what are some of the timelines that you're working with?
I think policy will play a very pivotal role. The reason is it's not really about just capital alone. For the ecosystem to kind of evolve overall, you need to talk about capacity. You need to talk about intellectual property. You need to talk about go-to-market, and even eventually you need to talk about even liquidity. So to look at the ecosystem and the evolution of the ecosystem or the development of the ecosystem as a whole, policy plays a very, very important role. And you have to kind of really create a deal funnel, early stage deal funnel for growth capital to come and invest, and then for the growth folks to pass it on to private equity and eventually to kind of public markets. So very clearly, I think a lot of people within the country, venture capitalists, incubators, accelerators, academia, all of them have given feedback about the deep tech policy, and looking forward to the final policy. But eventually, how do you implement it? How do practitioners kind of put it into use or execute it is going to be more important than the policy itself.
Can you take us through some of the initiatives and some of the schemes that you have sort of enlisted here to be able to help deep tech startups?
NASSCOM is actually championing this cause. Thanks for the opportunity that NASSCOM kind of gave to us. If you really look at the first innings of Indian startup ecosystem, even Mr. Amitabh Kant talked about 2016 January, when the Startup India was launched. Today we are 100,000 plus startups, 100 plus unicorns, $100 billion of capital raised in the last 8 years or so. Only 3 to 5% of that capital has gone to deep tech startups, and there are only a few thousand deep tech startups, and we haven't seen a whole lot of them becoming really large businesses. So one of the thoughts, whether Debjani or Kritika, others from NASSCOM, the entire NASSCOM team, is really about, how do you give a platform to the deep tech startups?
For more news and updates, all you need to do is follow CNBC TV18 on all of our digital platforms.